Most people ask, cruise or regular trip? Which is better? And that is the wrong question, because a cruise and a self-planned trip are not different versions of the same thing. They are two completely different ways to experience the world, two different ways to use your time, and two different ways to come back from travel, mentally and physically. That is why some people step off a ship rested and others feel strangely empty. That is why some come back from a trip with stories and others with nothing but photos. The problem is not travel. The problem is that people choose these formats with the same expectations. You can feel it from the very first day, in the way the morning starts, whether you rush or you wait, whether you follow a schedule or make decisions on the fly. Right there, one kind of travel carries you and the other forces you to participate. And that difference is the one people underestimate the most, because both look like a vacation, but they work in completely different ways. If you do not understand it in time, the disappointment does not come from the trip. It comes from the mismatch between expectation and reality. And if you look closer, you will see that this difference comes from one very specific place: who makes the decisions and when. Is the day really yours? Or are you just adjusting yourself to a day that has already been arranged? Who is in control? The biggest difference between a cruise and a trip is not the comfort, the price, or the destinations. It is much simpler and much more uncomfortable. Who makes the decisions for you? On a cruise, the decisions are made in advance. Not because you are lazy, but because the whole model is designed that way. Departure time, disembarkation time, how long you have in each place when you return, everything is fixed. You do not move through space, you move through a schedule. And that is not necessarily bad. For many people, that is the whole point. You do not think, you do not plan, you do not carry responsibility, you just show up where you need to be, when you need to be there. The world comes to you in the form of stops. But the price of that convenience is control. Not because someone takes it from you by force, but because you hand it over willingly. Your day does not unfold. It gets executed. On a trip, it is the opposite. There is no one to carry the weight for you. You decide when you wake up, where you go, whether you stay another hour or leave right away. There is no have to. There are only consequences. It sounds romantic, but it is not easy. Control also means responsibility. It means messing up, being late, picking the wrong neighborhood or the wrong day. But it also means something else, that the experience is yours, not something performed from a script. This is where a lot of people get confused. They choose a cruise, but subconsciously, they want the feeling of discovering. Or they choose a trip, but they actually want someone to take care of them. Then they blame the format instead of the choice. The truth is simple. A cruise is travel where the world is organized around you. A trip is travel where you organize yourself around the world. Neither is better, but the difference between them is fundamental. And when you are not honest with yourself about how much control you want to carry, the problems start on day one, and sometimes even before you leave. Remember, the way decisions are made changes not only the route, but the way time feels. And that is exactly where the difference becomes even more obvious. How time feels. One of the strangest things about travel is that time does not behave the same way. It does not move at the same speed, and it does not leave the same marks behind. And here, the difference between a cruise and a trip becomes even clearer. On a cruise, time is chopped up. The day has clear blocks: morning, disembarkation, return, dinner, show. You do not feel them as choices, but as a sequence. Everything starts and ends on time, and that is why the days go by fast. Not because a lot happens, but because nothing stays long enough. You pass through places without lingering in them. You see cities, but you rarely have time to get lost in them. Time works like a conveyor belt, smooth, efficient, with no surprises. At the end of the day, you are tired in a strange way. Not from experience, but from movement. On a trip, time behaves differently. It stretches and shrinks. One afternoon can pass in 5 minutes, and one evening can get etched as a memory for years, because there is no fixed ending, no signal that you have to leave. If you like something, you stay. If you do not, you move on. Here, time is not a schedule. It is a material. You work with it. Sometimes you lose it. Sometimes you gain it. But you always feel it. And that is why days do not blend into each other so easily. A lot of people say that after a cruise, everything blended together. They do not remember which city was when. Not because the places are the same, but because the time between them was the same. The same rhythm, repeated many times. On a trip, that happens less often. Not because the experience is stronger, but because it is more uneven. And that unevenness is exactly what makes the memories clearer. And here comes the first real cost. A cruise saves you effort, but it pays with depth in time. A trip gives you time, but it demands attention. If you do not give it that, it simply falls apart. And if you think about it, this connects directly to the previous section. When you do not control your decisions, you rarely control your time either. It just happens around you. Comfort versus involvement. Comfort is the best-selling promise in travel, and a cruise delivers it almost perfectly. The bed is the same every night, the food is predictable, the logistics are invisible. Nothing surprises you in a bad way. The world is smoothed out, made safe, and packaged so it does not require effort. And that has real value, especially when you are tired, overloaded, or you just want someone else to carry the weight for you. Comfort frees up energy. The problem is that it also creates distance, because the less you participate, the less you touch the reality of the place. You do not have to ask, wait, get confused, adjust. And those small inconveniences are exactly the moments when you start connecting with the place, instead of just passing through it. On a trip, comfort is not a given. It is the result of choices. Sometimes good ones, sometimes not. Convenience comes in waves, not as a background hum. And that is exactly why you feel it more strongly when it shows up. Here, involvement becomes decisive. You are not a customer of the experience. You are part of it. You have to find your way, adapt, get into the rhythm of the place. That takes effort, but it also leaves a mark. A lot of people say that the cruise relaxed them, and the trip tired them out. But they often do not realize that fatigue and satisfaction are not opposites. Sometimes the very involvement that drains you is what makes the experience meaningful. And this is where the next difference starts to take shape. Comfort affects not only the body, but also memory. What stays after everything is over. Because in the end, the question is not how comfortable it was, but what you actually took with you. And that is where the difference between a cruise and a trip becomes the most visible. What stays with you? At the end of every journey, there is a quiet moment. When the suitcase is put away, the photos are uploaded, and the rhythm of everyday life has already grabbed you again. And then only one thing remains. What actually stayed with you? Not as a file, not as a checklist, as a feeling. A cruise often leaves a sense of completion. You have seen a lot. You have visited several countries. You have panoramas, sunsets, decks, clean rooms, well-organized days. The memories are smooth. They do not hurt, they do not irritate, they do not pull you back into some difficult moment. But there is something else in that too. When everything has been arranged, not much has shaken you. And often it is the shaking that gets imprinted. On an independent trip, memories are rarely smooth. There are missed trains, wrong turns, random conversations, evenings you did not plan. And sometimes those exact moments become central, not because they were convenient, but because they were yours. A cruise gives you a frame, a trip gives you fragments. And the question is, which of the two lasts longer? With a cruise, you often remember the feeling of calm. With a trip, you remember specific scenes, a street, a conversation, a view you reached with effort, a mistake that led you to a better place. This is not about romanticizing chaos or downplaying comfort. It is about the depth of the imprint. The more you participated, the more the experience changed you. And here is the honest moment. Some people do not want to be changed by travel. They want a break from their life, not a rethinking of it. And for them, a cruise can be the perfect choice. It protects your energy. It does not put you in situations that push you out of your comfort zone. Others want the exact opposite. They want to collide with a place, get lost, feel difference. And for them, a trip leaves a deeper mark, even if it is more exhausting. What stays with you is rarely the number of destinations. More often, it is the level of involvement. And if you think about it, that leads to the last, most common mistake people make. What this really says about you. In the end, the choice between a cruise and independent travel does not say that much about the format itself. It says much more about you. It says what state you are in when you leave. If you choose a cruise, maybe you are not looking for adventure. Maybe you are looking for less tension. Maybe you want someone else to arrange your time. Because in everyday life, you are already carrying enough decisions. And that is not weakness. It is awareness that right now you need structure, not an experiment. If you choose an independent trip, maybe you are not just looking for views. Maybe you are looking for impact. You want to participate, to carry consequences, to feel the place in a way that is not prearranged. That takes energy. It takes willingness to accept discomfort. But it also gives something different. Sometimes choosing a cruise means you want safety. Sometimes choosing a trip means you want growth. And sometimes it is the exact opposite. There is no universal answer. And that is the point. The problem is not that people choose one or the other. The problem is that they often do it automatically, out of habit, based on what looks more impressive, based on what you are supposed to like. But the format of travel always amplifies what you already carry inside you. If you are tired, you will feel it more. If you are looking for challenge, you will get it more intensely. If you are running from something, both formats can show it to you in different ways. Sometimes a trip does not disappoint you. It just shows you that you expected something you were not ready to experience. And that is why honesty before you go matters more than the destination itself. So the question was never, which is better? The question is, what do you need right now? And when you are honest with yourself about that, the choice stops being a dilemma. Choosing the right tool. A cruise and an independent trip are not competing. They serve different states. If you need stability and predictability, choose the format that gives you that. If you need involvement and engagement, choose the format that makes you think and decide. Travel does not change you magically. It just amplifies what you already are. And when you choose the right tool for the moment, the experience does not just pass. It fits you. If you want to make choices like this more consciously, without automatically following what looks better from the outside, that is travelwise. Here we are not chasing more, but the right fit. We will continue with more decisions that look small, but change the entire trip.